Okay, so I have discussed many important things pertaining to the seepage and the permeability problems. So now, yesterday I had started the computation of the seepage pressures, and just in continuation of that, because after today's discussion, the next week I'll be dealing with the problems of piping, uplift pressure in the dams, embankments, and foundations. So just pay your fullest attention and try to understand what I want to say. Okay, so for example, there is a tube, and in which uh, the soil is filled up, say up to certain height, up to here. Say this is all soil. This is all soil, and it is water. It is water. So it is the overflowing of the water, and this is the datum level. This is the datum level. Datum level is normally, just remember this thing, that datum level in these hydraulic problems is generally taking that point up to which the effect of water is considered in the analysis, and the outlet of the water can be presumed at that level. So let us say this is the scenario. This is the, say, worst possible scenario. That's why I deliberately chose this location, so that you understand the things better. So let us have some locations like, say, A, B, C, and also let me take one position somewhere in between the soil mass. Say it is D, and let us say this point is E. This point is E, and say this point is F. Now, very clearly, in the previous discussions also, I had been telling you that suppose I fix up a standpipe, or say the piezometers, say at this location, at location C. Obviously, you should agree with me that water will rise up to this column. Now, if I fix up, say, the piezometer at D location, which is just the center of this soil mass, then here also water will rise to certain height. Water will also height certain rise, depending upon the forces or the viscous forces it comes across. Then if I fix up, let us say, the piezometer at this location, at the bottommost location, so water will rise in this standpipe also, say up to maximum this level. This is the datum level, up to the datum level. Now we will consider the equilibrium of this very situation. In the previous discussion, I had told you that there are three types of heads. Three types of heads in a flowing fluid. Three types of heads are there. Three types of heads are velocity head, then the pressure head, and then the elevation head. Elevation head. Velocity head is normally V square upon 2G. Pressure head is the pressure divided by the unit weight of water plus the elevation head, that is Z. So as I told in the last discussion also, that this is taken as negligible. This is taken. So we are left with the pressure head and the elevation head only. So here also, I mean, the pressure head is represented very well by the piezometer only, which we fix up at any location. So that indicates the pressure head. So if I just want to define what is the scenario of the pressure head, the elevation head, and the total head, then we can prepare a table. Say this is pressure head, this is elevation head, This is total head. And this is head loss. Head loss. So point, let us say A. So if you refer to this figure, the previous figure, this figure, the pressure head at point A obviously is 0 because this is a topmost point. Elevation head is AE. Total head will be addition 0 plus AE, that is AE, and head loss is 0. For point B, the pressure head, we refer this figure. So pressure head at this is AB, and the elevation head is BE. BE total head will be AB plus BE, that is AE, and head loss is 0. Now see the point C. The point C, the pressure head, looking at this figure, is AE, AC, AC, and elevation head is CE. So total head will be AC plus E, that is AE, and head loss is 0. Now coming to point D. Now, before I take up the pressures acting on this, let me define that this D is the midpoint. D is the midpoint of soil mass. Midpoint of the soil mass or soil sample, you can say. So pressure head at this location, pressure head will be CD. Now elevation head is of course DE. Elevation head is DE. So total head will be CD plus DE, that is CE. That is CE. And CE is also mathematically equal to, let me define in the figure itself, that if this is the datum level, if this is the datum, then from datum this location can be defined, as from the datum level, this location can be defined as AE by 2. AE by 2. And CE can also be defined as equal to AE minus AE by 2. So head loss will be AE by 2. Now, after D, the last location is F. Now, at this F,
Sir,
the pressure head
sir, C is
is
the
EF.
midpoint between the top of water and the water table.
Yeah, D is the midpoint of soil sample.
Sir, D is the midpoint of soil sample, but C is the midpoint of the, like, the height of the soil and height of the water above it is same because we took A by 2.
This one is why I have shown this extra. This shown extra is that due to capillary action, as I had told in the last class also, due to capillary action, water may rise a little above this. Water may rise,
Okay.
right? So the last point is F. So here the pressure head is EF. Pressure head is EF. And what is the elevation head? it will be minus EF. It is a minus EF. It is a minus EF. So total head is this plus this, it will be 0, and the head loss is AE. 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 So this is the simplest and a little complex behavior of the soil or the stresses when there is a hydraulic flow within the soil mass. So if you remember this basic concept, then you will not commit any mistake, because gradually we will be marching towards a little more complicated problems which are generally possible in the field. Now after this, let me define what is the hydrostatic pressure. Now, although the hydrostatic word is coming into this hydrostatic pressure, but hydrostatic condition basically is a condition when hydrostatic when hydrostatic condition defined as the static condition when no flow takes place. When no flow takes place through soil, that is called hydrostatic condition. And the sample is in static condition. This is called hydrostatic condition. So it is a no flow. What does it mean? It means that, let us say there is a jar, and there is a saturated soil mass. Filled up in this, and let us say there are no valves. This valve is there, but it is closed forever, for example. So virtually there is no flow. So this situation shall be called as the hydrostatic condition, because flow is not taking place. The moment I open this valve, then only some water will start coming out, or if I insert more water from the top, then it is no longer a hydrostatic condition. So that will be called hydrodynamic condition, in which either there is some inflow or there is some outflow. Can also be from bottom to top, and accordingly the mathematical signs will change. It will be either plus sign or minus sign. All of you can understand it. So if no flow takes place, no inflow is there, or no outflow is there, then it is called as hydrostatic condition. Now, just to explain this, let me take one more example. So this will remove all your doubts, even if some doubts are there. So say this is the soil mass, and up to here, this is all water. This is water. Up from here to here, this is all water. And this is soil mass. Say this is H1. This is H. And let me take this space as the filter. This space I shall be using to explain you that there is a valve which I can open if I want. Then, to have a mathematical model, we can choose any point. Say this is any point. Let us call it C. This is, for example, point A. This point is, say, B. C is at a depth of, say, Z. At a depth of Z. So friends, as I defined, There is a filter, and if I open the valve, then the water will start coming from this point onwards. So we can call this as the datum level. Filter is just of negligible thickness. It can be a paper filter. Okay. Now, as I explained earlier also, that if a piezometer is attached here at this point, water will rise up to here. As just now in the previous case, I had explained you. At the point C, if I again connect a standpipe, water may rise up to here. And here also, if I attach a standpipe, water may rise up to here. Now, friends, as we did in the previous case, actually it is a virtual class. If it was my lecture in the classroom, I would have asked you one by one that tell me the pressure at A. Some student would have told me. Then I would have asked the second student that tell me the pressure at B, or tell me the elevation head at B, like this. So it becomes a very, very interesting, quiz type of session in the classroom. But nevertheless, let me write the things here, and I know you will be agreeing with me. So let us say this is the situation, and valve is closed. Valve is closed. Valve is closed. You try to visualize this thing. So total head at A, T is total head. So total head is always equal to pressure head plus the elevation head. Elevation head. So pressure head at A, it is H1 plus elevation head is H. This is H1. This is H1. This is H1 plus H. Now total head at B. Total head at B. Let me write it just to save the time. This pressure head at B. Pressure head at B. This is H1 plus H. Now I will write and add one term, and you should agree with that, because I had been telling you that whenever the water flows through any soil mass, there is always a head loss. If you remember Darcy's equation, Darcy's law, then I had defined one parameter that is called hydraulic gradient. I is equal to H upon L. L is the length of sample. So H, unless until head loss is there, unless head loss is there, flow will not take place. So head loss means there is some loss of energy. Some energy is lost because of the friction exerted by the soil minerals on the water body. So let us say H is the head loss. So the effective pressure head will be H1, you refer this figure, plus H minus some head loss plus the elevation head. What is the elevation head at B? It is 0. It is 0 because that is right at the bottom level. So we can say that flow will take place. Now this quantity is larger than this quantity, because here this is something is reduced from this. So that is the head loss. So this quantity is larger than this, and that is obvious
There
also.
should be no head loss in static
Because of
conditions.
this only the flow will take place. Now, let me also write that if I want to define the hydraulic gradient, this will be H upon capital H. Capital H is this length of the sample, H upon L. So we can say that the total stress at any point in soil mass is due to weight of sample and water above it, and water above it. So at A, total stress sigma A shall be H1 into gamma W. Then at A, the pore water pressure U is equal to H1 into gamma W. So effective stress last time I had explained you. Effective stress is total stress minus pore water pressure. So this will be sigma A minus UA. Coincidence is that both the values are equal, so it is 0. So this is in hydrostatic condition. This is a hydrostatic condition. It's a hydrostatic condition. Now, what is the scenario at B? Sigma B is equal to H1 gamma W plus H gamma saturated. And UB is what? H1 plus H minus certain head loss into gamma W. So sigma means effective stress, sigma B dash, or you can also write sigma B bar. So this will be equal to sigma B minus UB. So this becomes H gamma saturated minus gamma W. We can write as the effective unit weight into H gamma W. So this is the basic thing for the sake of understanding. Now, this H gamma W, this is also referred to as a seepage pressure. This is also called the seepage pressure. It is also called the seepage pressure. Now, if I open the valve, so there will be downward flow. There will be downward flow. So friends, remember one thing. As I said that you can choose any sign. From student to student, the selection of the sign in the mathematical equation can change from person to person. You can take either flow in the downward direction as say positive or say negative, or reverse, true for the upward
Sir,
flow. Yes, please.
sir, right now we have an head loss. Sir, actual head loss occurs when we have flow. We were talking about a static
When flow, yeah,
condition, so there should
yeah,
not be
exactly.
any head loss.
Exactly. That's why I said if any flow is there, then only head loss will be there. You
Sir,
remember?
so
And because
this
there is
condition
no
is
flow,
discussed
so
at flow.
mathematically, as I said that you refer this figure, so long valve is closed, these are the equations which persist. This small h will take place when when valve is open, then only there will be head loss. You remember in the previous I had said that, so if
Okay,
there
sir.
is no pressure, then it is called hydrostatic condition.
So this
So
all discussion was about flow. The when the flow starts, when the valve opens.
when the flow starts, yeah, that I am discussing now. That here the flow starts, downward flow. It's a downward flow. Now what happens that when the flow takes place, there will be downward flow. It means there is there is an increase there is an increase in effective stress. there will be an increase in effective stress. Why there is an increase in effective stress? Reason is very obvious, that whenever water flows through the soil particles, obviously because of the friction, some viscosity is developed, and because of that the pressures are developed, and so we call it that there is an increase in the effective stress in the soil mass. Otherwise everything is in a static condition, there is no stresses as such developed. So this is why there is an increase in effective stress. This is due to frictional force. Frictional force, or it is also called as drag. It is also called as drag, which acts on surface of grains which form the walls of pores. This is a surface of grain. Ultimately, what it does, that forms the wall of the pores. Now, one more thing, the seepage pressure is always acts in the direction of flow. The direction of flow. In the direction of flow. So the increase in effective stress, increase in effective stress at point C is H upon H. This is what? I into Z into gamma W. Remember one thing, say this is the, say, ground level. Now this is all soil mass. This is all soil mass. You forget about water. Say this is the soil mass, and if I ask you that, tell me what will be the stress on this point, say point A, what will be the stresses on the soil mass, say at this location B. So very easily you should tell that if this is at Z1 location, if this is at Z2 location, so the stresses at this point is always gamma Z1. This is at this point, this is gamma Z2. This is the case when there is no water. If, say, water table is here, then accordingly the gamma value will change. Above this water table, that will be gamma dry. Below this will be gamma saturated. And in the previous slide, I had already defined that what is gamma dash. This is equal to gamma saturated minus weight of this thing. Right? So this I had already defined that this is equal to this one. So keeping all these things in mind, I have written here, because here flow is taking place, that's why Darcy's law is there, I, then gamma WZ is already like this gamma Z. So this is the increase in effective stress at point C, because above this there is a water column, and seepage pressure is therefore equal to I times Z. Let me write here, is I times Z gamma W, and the effective stress sigma bar, or say sigma dash, whatever you can write, will be equal to Z gamma dash, I have already defined, plus IZ gamma W. This is the effective stress in the downward flow, friends, in the downward flow. So rather For the sake of remembering, you can remember this equation as plus minus. So minus sign or plus sign, you can decide according to your will that what sign you should take for what condition. Now you refer this figure only again, this one. You remember this figure in your mind. In the next slide here, I have considered the downward flow. Now I am considering, say, upward flow. Upward flow means valve is open, but through this valve, I am pushing water upwards. Now, refer to that figure only. Let me write that total head at A, total head at A. This is again the same pressure head plus the elevation head. This is equal to H1 plus H. Total head at B. This is H1 plus H plus H. Here I have taken plus sign for the upward flow. In the previous case, I had taken minus, so it is minus minus is plus. That's why there that was plus. So here again you can take plus minus. So I am taking plus here, plus the elevation head, that is 0. So here the total head, here in this it is upward flow, remember. Total head at B is greater than total head at A. That's why the upward flow is taking place. It is supposed to be there. It has to be higher. Then only the upward flow shall take place. So hydraulic gradient already I have defined H upon H. H upon H. So stresses sigma A at A will be H1 gamma W. Stress and UA will be H1 gamma W. So effective stress will be equal to 0 at A. Now at B, stress at B will be H1 gamma W plus H gamma saturated. UB, pore water pressure at B, H1 plus H into gamma W. So sigma at B means effective stress I am talking of. This will be equal to H minus I times H gamma W. Why I have taken I here? Simply because I is equal to H upon H. Therefore, H will be equal to I times capital H. So this I have written I times capital H. This. Now, this is the equation now we should remember. Now, referring to this equation, let me define one parameter that is called quicksand condition. Quicksand condition. Now, what is quicksand condition? Quicksand is not sand. It is not sand. It is not sand. It is the situation. It is a particular circumstance. It is a particular circumstance that it is called quicksand condition. Circumstance or a condition. Now, what is quicksand condition? Quicksand condition means, let us say, in a very simple term, I am trying to explain you. Let us say the soil mass says it is saturated. Here I am inserting some water into it. It was already a saturated soil mass. So water I am entering with some pressure into the soil mass. So what will happen that it will bear the pressure of the water to some extent, which I am inserting from the bottom. Now, a stage will come when the soil particles into this will start, traveling upwards, and it will be a sort of boiling condition. Will be a sort of boiling condition. Quicksand is also called sand boiling. With water will or sand particles will start as if they are boiling, just like boiling. When the sand particles will start flowing upward, we call it boiling condition. We also call it quicksand condition. And if you visualize this condition in your mind, obviously you should agree yourself that why the sand particles are boiling and moving upward, because they must have lost its strength. If sand particles were just like, say, Dara Singh, very strong, like Khali wrestler, you must have heard of Khali wrestler, you see. So it is difficult to deviate or to shift or to shake Khali wrestler, you see. Sand particles are Khali wrestlers so long you are not touching them. But you are, touching, disturbing sand mass unnecessary. Sand mass wants to stay in a peaceful situation, but you are not allowing sand particles to remain in the peaceful condition. You are unnecessarily disturbing the static equilibrium of the sand. How? Simply by inserting water and water into the soil mass. The stage will come. I mean, you can consider sand just like a sleeping Kumbhakaran, you see. If you refer the mythological story, so sand is a sleeping Kumbhakaran, but you are disturbing unnecessary sand by inserting water. So the sand, which is symbolic or synonym to Kumbhakaran kind of person, obviously when it will wake up, it will fly, or it will either hit you, or it must have lost its strength, which it was attaining at the time of sleeping. So some particles will start boiling upward. So virtually we can say that sand is losing its strength and is losing its strength. This is called quicksand condition. Now, mathematically in this case, what happens? That strength is lost. So this is zero. This is zero. So we can say that H, this thing is equal to I times H gamma W. So this H will go, this H will go. So we can say that I is what? Gamma dash upon gamma W. If this is a situation, we call it that this is not I, it is I critical. It is called critical hydraulic gradient. It is called critical hydraulic gradient. Critical hydraulic gradient is a very, very disastrous kind of situation. I don't know how many of you have seen this quicksand condition in the real life. It happens generally. Well, there are two things. One is the quicksand condition, and exactly similar to that is one liquefaction condition. Liquefaction. In the liquefaction condition also, the same situation occurs. The only difference between the two is the liquefaction occurs only when there is an earthquake. Quicksand is the same condition physically, but even without earthquake. That is the only difference between the two. But phenomenon is same. The phenomenon or the physical occurrences is the same. What happens in liquefaction and what happens in quicksand? The same thing, that sand virtually loses all its strength. Therefore, There are many situations like in Bhuj, in Gujarat, you see, liquefaction occurred, and many, like the Bhuj radio station, that also sunk into the ground. And if no earthquake is there, only the quicksand is there, then also the situation is same. The man moving on the soil mass may sink into the ground. The cars running on the ground can sink into the soil mass because quicksand must have occurred there. Means the uplift pressure suddenly becomes so high, and that is due to the water. Water means what? Groundwater. So sometimes the groundwater pressure is so high that the soil above that lose all its strength, and it becomes almost like a shaking soil mass, or you can say the boiling soil mass. And if anybody, if any human being are standing or walking or sitting on the ground, that can be sunk into the ground. So it's a very, very disastrous situation. Now, friends,
Sir,
try to
excuse me,
understand
sir.
one more thing, that this quicksand
Excuse me,
takes
sir.
place. Quicksand, yes, please.
Sir, right now the soil loses its strength, so effective stress equal to zero, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, sir.
But but the basic difference, let me explain. The quicksand condition does not take place in gravels and clays. Why? Mathematically also I will explain, and physically also I will explain. Quicksand condition takes place only in case of fine sands. This fact you should remember. Quicksand is not a universal phenomena. Quicksand is the phenomena exclusively, especially for the fine sands. Why in gravels and coarse sands it does not take place? Let me explain. Why it does not take place in case of clays? Let me explain. Now, let me take up the gravels and coarse sand first. The reason is very obvious. Here, in case of gravels and coarse sand, the pores size are large. Pore size are large. If you allow water some passage to move upwards, then water will happily come out. Water will happily come out. Remember, you just pay attention to my words. In fact, I always insist to my students that whatever I speak in the class, you should try to catch each and every word of mine. You see, the difference between the quicksand and that too, no occurrences of quicksand condition in gravels and clays is that in case of gravels and coarse sand, the pore sizes are large. Therefore, only pure water will come. In quicksand condition, the sand, or say muddy sand, mud sand. Mud sand means sand in slushy form plus water that comes up. That comes up. And because of that, even if animal is grazing there, if car is standing there, that can sink into that slush, and it is really difficult sometimes to take the animals out or to take the human being out, because say this is the ground, and if this was the man who was happily playing here, and if he goes inside this, maybe this, and because of the muddy situation, it will be really difficult for him to come out, or say for the animal to come out, or for any car to come out. But in case of this, the mud does not come out, because water is trying to come out. If water does not come out so easily, then water will be mixed up firstly with the sand present there, which could be fine sand, and ultimately the pressure is so high that one fine day it will come up and it will come out in the form of the muddy sand, slush, just like this slush. So here the pore water Pore size is very large, so only the pure water comes out. And for the, fortunately, there is no quicksand kind of situation. I used one word that the soil loses its strength. So now what happens in clays? Now let me tell you mathematically also what happens. The shear stress is equal to C plus sigma tan phi. See, this gamma I have already explained. C is the cohesion. C is the cohesion. This is the universal equation. This is the universal equation. If C is only when clay soil is there. If clay soil is not there, then this equation for this kind of situation is tau is equal to sigma tangent phi. Sigma tangent phi. Phi is the angle of internal friction. Phi is the angle of internal friction. Phi is the angle of internal friction. So this phi is responsible for the strength of the soil. Now, in case of coarse sand and this thing, if phi is, the strength is lost, then tau is equal to sigma. Say, then the quicksand kind of situation comes. But if clays are there, why I said quicksand does not come, that even if this component sigma tangent phi is 0, say phi is 0, phi is 0 in this case, when there is a quicksand condition in case of fine sand. But here, if in gravels and coarse sand, phi is never 0. So some phi remains, therefore, in gravels and coarse sand, there is certain strength which is still there. The soil remains in intact position. Soil remains in intact position. Now, friends, try to understand this phenomena in case of clays. I said that for clays, this is the equation which holds good. Now, even if phi is 0, but clay is there, in clays, C is always there. So what I am saying, in the worst case, even if phi is 0, at least tau will be equal to some value of C. So it will never be the loss of total strength. Here I said that there will always be some value of phi in case of coarse sand and the gravels. So soil has its strength tau, it's called shear strength. Always there is some strength because of the very presence of phi. In case of clay, soil has always certain strength because of the very presence of C, even if phi is 0. So this is the points to ponder upon, that quicksand persists only in case of the fine sand. In case of the fine sands only, you should remember the quicksand. Now, I said in the previous slide that this is equal to this called as ICR, and this is also mathematically taken as Z minus 1 plus E. Now, G already I had explained when I discussed the specific gravity chapter, and I also told that the specific gravity of these soils generally is 2.67 or so. So if G is, for example, 2.67, for example, and E is say 0.67, which is quite likely, so it will be equal to 1.67 upon 1.67, it will be equal to 1. So if this is a situation that G value is 2.67 and E value is 0.67 per chance, then it is a very, very dangerous kind of situation. It is the sure occurrences, or the sure happening of the quicksand kind of situation. So remember, the quicksand, sometimes we give this type of question in the short notes. So it is not a sand. It is not a kind of sand. It is not a kind of sand. It is a situation. It is a hydraulic situation, or you can call it hydraulic condition. Hydraulic condition. So this happens when there is upward flow under a hydraulic gradient which reduces the effective stress to zero. In typical sands, hydraulic gradient is 1. I have already explained you mathematically when G is 2.67 and E is 0.67. So already I have explained that in fine sand there are chances, and also in liquefaction. Liquefaction also occurs in fine sands, right? So then high artesian pressure in a sand mass, high artesian condition. In one of the lectures, I had told that artesian conditions are there. When naturally some water comes, artesian conditions are very common in Gujarat, in Odisha, and also in some coastal areas. Artesian condition means automatically, without any pump, without any external means, the water starts coming out from the ground in the form of a jet. So what I am writing is high artesian pressure in a sand mass is one of the main reasons, of weak sand condition. Weak sand condition. Now the last thing for today is the seepage force. So seepage force, this is equal to the force per unit volume of soil. This is called seepage force. Is called seepage force. So this seepage force is normally equal to I into gamma W. So this I will discuss in the next class more. Okay? So that's all for the day. Thank you very much.